Welcome to this episode of the Sports Detective Podcast Show. My name is James Williams, and today the Ohio State University is the most expensive college football team that we have for the 2024 season. I'll go ahead and show you guys this tweet here from RJ Young. Right here, it says that Ohio State's boosters reportedly spent $13 million on NIL on Ohio State's roster. Ohio State spent $11.425 million on its assistant coaching staff, including new hire Chip Kelly. They also, a few years ago, as you guys may remember, stole. I don't know if you want to say stole, but they paid to get Jim Knowles to leave his job at Oklahoma State to come to Ohio State. And they obviously are paying. Ohio State spent $10 million on its head coach. That's Ryan Day. Ohio State has the best team money can buy. So if you add up all of that money together, guys, that is a $34 million football team. That is Ohio State showing Ryan Day and giving Ryan Day the resources like, hey, man, we will give you, no matter what, all the money that you want to spend on a coaching staff, assistant coaches, wide receiver coaches, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. We got you. We'll give you that. Whatever you want to spend on a roster, we got you. Guys coming out of high school, we got you. Transfer portal, you need a transfer portal quarterback? Okay, you want Will Howard? We'll go get you Will Howard. We'll give you the resources to go get Will Howard. And now you're looking at Ohio State. If you're comparing Ryan Day and his time at Ohio State to, let's say, another coach that is at a premier job in university right now. Kirby Smart didn't win his first national championship at Georgia until his sixth season. Right now, Ryan Day is entering his seventh season. I think Ohio State fans like Ryan Day. I think they think he's a good coach. But right now, there is a little bit of a teetering there for Ryan Day at Ohio State. And it sounds ridiculous because we know that he's won 7% of his games there. A few of those games you could say didn't count because some of those bowl games that they played in, or at least I think it's like at least one or two of them, it wasn't a playoff game, so a lot of guys opted out of that game. So some of those losses, like I know this year, you really count that loss for Ohio State in their bowl game. You can or you can't. I'll leave that up to you. But it's kind of crazy to say Ryan Day, 88% winning percentage at Ohio State. It's kind of, it's go time. It's time. This is a win now situation you have at Ohio State. They have, since they hired Jim Knowles, which was a home run hire for Ohio State, their defense has gotten incredibly better over the last few seasons. Now you get in Chip Kelly, who is a guy that was, helped get Ryan Day his start in the coaching universe at Buffalo once upon a time. So you have Chip Kelly, who leaves his head coaching job at UCLA, comes to Ohio State, is going to help kind of, sturdy up this Ohio State running game, maybe provide a little bit more organization. He's a guy that's overqualified for the job as an offensive coordinator. Say whatever you want about Chip Kelly, the head coach, whether that be at the NFL level or the college level. But I think his relationship with Ryan Day, that offense should be, incredibly efficient. You actually have an extra mind in there to work with Ryan Day on the offense. So you look at Ohio State. Ryan Day always has these awesome receivers. They are able to go to the transfer portal, get Quinshon Judkins from Ole Miss. They have everything that you want on this roster. The only thing that I'm a little nervous about, if you're looking forward to the 2024 season, you're saying, why won't Ohio State win a national championship? Why won't they? Now, if you want to say, well, Georgia, if you want to say something like that, sure, whatever. But if you're just talking about the Ohio State roster, the formation of its coaches and its roster, the one thing that could potentially hold this program back from, reaching the ultimate ceiling that the fans and the boosters and the athletic department and the coaching staff and the players want it to go, in my opinion, it's the quarterback position. And right now, Ohio State is in a similar situation to where they were last year at this point, where they don't know who their quarterback is going to be. They do not know who their quarterback is going to be. Last year, if you went through if you're following Ohio State back then, it was basically a two-man race between Kyle McCord and Devin Brown. Kyle McCord ultimately ended up winning out that job. He was a high school quarterback for Marvin Harrison Jr., so they had a little bit of a connection. And Ohio State went 11-0, as you guys know, lose to Michigan in that game. Kyle McCord was okay. He was serviceable, but compared to guys like CJ Stroud or Justin Fields, was definitely, for an Ohio State quarterback, leveled off. Ohio State fans know this, but people that might know, Kyle McCord transferred to Syracuse. So now the job for Ohio State quarterback is a 5-man race. Yes, they have 5 quarterbacks right now at Ohio State. Now it's really more of like a 2-man race, but I'll go through all of the guys. So right now, an article that I read about reacting to the spring game. It was an article in Dayton, I believe. I can't remember the Dayton newspaper, so I apologize for that. But basically, they said that Lincoln Keyholtz, who was I think he might have been the 3rd stringer last year for Ohio State. Uh, Hopefully, I said the name right too. I have no idea. Apparently, that guy's 5th on that list. He was the least impressive in the spring game, so definitely don't think that guy is going to be the quarterback. The main 2 races, the main 2 guys competing for that job is a backup quarterback from last year, Devin Brown, who saw a little bit of playing time, but never was able to win that job over in camp and before the season over Kyle McCord. And then Ohio State, as I think I mentioned this earlier, went into the transfer portal, gets Will Howard, who is a multi-year starter at Kansas State, who is a guy that was once upon a time recruited by Harvard. He was an under-recruited guy coming out of high school. Kansas State was able to find him and then able to start him. And he was a very, very good quarterback at Kansas State. But as you can kind of see from the side behind me, I went to Iowa State. I'm an Iowa State fan. So I've watched a lot of Will Howard in my time here. And even though I think he's a good quarterback, part of me finds it hard to believe that Will Howard is going to come to Ohio State and he's going to be this super awesome quarterback for this team. And he's going to be able to be the missing piece, for lack of a better term, for Ohio State to get over the hump and finally win a national championship under Ryan Day. Could be wrong here, but I don't see it. I don't know if he has the arm talent for that. I know he can be a dual threat at times, but part of me feels like maybe these Ohio State teams under Ryan Day, maybe if they're going to compete for a national championship, they might just be a team that needs like a superior, that's not a word, a guy that has NFL talent or potential like 1st-round NFL talent. Because we saw the best years under Ryan Day, the Justin Fields year, and then the CJ Stroud year we had 2 years ago. Both those guys got drafted CJ Stroud got drafted 2nd, and Justin Fields got drafted like top 12 or something. Last year, Kyle McCord, you have Kyle McCord. Kyle McCord, maybe he'll get in the NFL someday. I don't know if he'll be a high-end draft pick. Will Howard, I think the same thing. And that is my biggest concern right now for Ohio State. Now, if you look at recent national champions in college football, you typically do need, it's not required, but it gives you a much better chance having one of those elite talented quarterbacks. Say whatever you want about some of their games, but somebody like JJ McCarthy, say about how Michigan used him, but that dude's going to get drafted probably top 5 this year. We know Trevor Lawrence. We had Mac Jones, whatever you want to say about him, Jalen Hurts, Tua. The only exception, Joe Burrow. The only exception we've really had is Stetson Bennett. And I mean, I'm a Stetson Bennett defender, but even Stetson Bennett was an awesome quarterback. He's just kind of like, as far as him translating to the NFL, he just didn't necessarily have the physical attributes. He's like 5'10". So my biggest question with Ohio State right now, because right now it looks like Will Howard's going to be the quarterback. If you are an Ohio State fan, though, and you do kind of apply to the notion that I just said, it's like, hey, maybe you do need one of these top tier guys, one of these super talented guys to be the maestro of this Ohio State offense. And that's how you lead them to a national championship. There is some hope or some optimism or some projecting. Ohio State does, in fact, have 2 true freshman quarterbacks on this roster. Both of those guys were 5-star guys coming out of high school. The first one was, you guys might have heard this name a few months ago when Nick Saban left the Alabama job, because this quarterback, Julian Sayin, was a quarterback committed to Alabama under Nick Saban. As soon as Nick Saban retires, he goes in the transfer portal, immediately goes to Ohio State. 5-star quarterback, Julian Sayin. But then you also have, and this guy has an awesome name, Air Noland. Air Noland, a 5-star quarterback out of Georgia, the state of Georgia, and he's also a lefty. So you also have those two guys maybe waiting in the wings if we do have Ohio State quarterback maybe struggle in a game at Penn State in the middle of the season, at Oregon at some point in the season. And then you also have Ohio State playing Michigan, as we know, at the end of every year. So is there a chance that maybe in some of these games, Ryan Day is like, hey, I like Will Howard, like Devin Brown, but let's see what Aaron Noland has to do. Let's see if Julian Sayin can do some things. There is a hope that, and we have seen true freshmen, because I was kind of reading about this a little bit, and people are like, Ryan Day is going to go with the veterans, the guys that are a little bit older, that have had big time college experience, played in big spots. You really don't need that anymore in college football. I mean, it helps. Part of me thinks I'd rather have that than not, but we've seen it time and time again where freshmen can just jump into a situation and just be awesome. We saw Trevor Lawrence do that at Clemson, led them to a national championship his freshman year. We saw J.J. McCarthy, his freshman year, took over at Michigan, helped get them to the playoff, helped them beat Ohio State. So we have seen times where young players are able to, jump onto the scene and actually produce on the highest level. And if you're at a place like Ohio State, where you have awesome coaching, awesome offensive line, awesome weapons, it's a lot easier to do that stuff. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see here what this Ohio State season is going to turn out to be, who the quarterback ends up being. I do think, after I just said that stuff, I do think Ohio State will start with Will Howard to start the season. And then whether there's injuries, whether there's struggles with the quarterback at all, maybe they try one of these young, talented freshmen and see where they can go from there. Because Ohio State, as we said at the top here, they are spending $34 million on this football team right here, $21 million in coaching, $13 million in their roster. They want results. And if Ryan Day can't get them very far in the playoff, maybe he loses to Michigan again. If that seat is cool right now, or maybe you could say tepid warm, it's going to start to crank up even hotter, even though he's still winning 88% of his games. So there you have it, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. What do you think Ohio State is going? What do you think the record's going to be this year? Where are you projecting them to go? As far, how far do you think they're going to go in the playoff? Do they beat Michigan again? Who do you think the quarterback's going to be? Let me know what you think in the comments. If you got this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. Please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. It really just helps us out in the algorithm. And like I said, please leave a comment. My name is James Williams. Thank you very much for watching this episode of the Sports Detective Podcast Show. I'll talk to you next time.